Ahoy! Welcome back to Monday Magic. I'm Monday. This is episode 6. This deck will terrorise your table. It's an absolute blast to play, so let's get into it. The commander is Oswald Fiddlebender, 1 and a white for a 2/2. It has the activated ability of pay a white and tap it, sacrifice an artifact, and you can search a library for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrifice artifact's mana value, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle, and you can do this only at sorcery speed. So, what we're going to do with this commander is we're going to use his ability to go and find an expedition map, which is another tutor which can find any land in our deck. So we'll do that. Go and find ourselves a Mutavault. A Mutavault is a land that can tap for a colourless, or you can pay 1 and it becomes a 2/2 with all creature types until the end of turn. It's still a land. Pop that over to the side, and then the next turn we're going to do the commander's ability again. Go and find ourselves the Book of Exalted Deeds. This is a legendary artifact that says at the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. We don't care about that. What we do care about is the second ability, which is pay 3 white, tap it, exile the Book of Exalted Deeds, put an enlightened counter on target angel. It gains you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game, activate only as a sorcery. So the idea of this is we tap our Mutavault to pay for its own mana cost to become a 2/2 of all creature types, which includes angels. We activate this ability, and then what we'll end up with is a land that says you can't lose, your opponents can't win. So at the end of the turn it stops being a creature, makes it really difficult for your opponents to remove it, and a lot of people don't run land destruction in casual commander because it's seen as a bit of a faux pas. So we just end up with a land that says you can't lose and your opponents can't win, and the whole deck is worth about $107, €94 or £80, so it's pretty reasonable with the budget as well. So now we can't lose the game. What do we do? Well, we're going to build the magic version of Exodia, the helm, sword and shield of Kaldra. If all of them are on the battlefield, you can pay 1. You can make a legendary 4/4 token and equip all of these equipments onto it. So if you do that, it's a 9/9 with first strike, trample, haste, and indestructible. And if it deals damage to a creature, that creature gets exiled from the game.
I've assembled all 3 special cards, all 3 pieces of the puzzle.
Obviously we're going to generate a little bit of heat and attention with this deck once your opponents realise what you're doing, and there are still some ways of removing lands, such as a Chaos Warp or a Generous Gift. So let's talk about the protection that we run in this deck. Equinox is a 1 mana aura that you can put onto any land. It says tap land enchanted with Equinox to counter a spell that destroys 1 or more of your lands. This ability is played as an interrupt, so you can put this onto the Mutavault, and then if anyone plays a spell that would destroy the Mutavault, you can just simply tap it and it will counter that spell. And then there's Blacksmith's skill, which is target permanent games hexproof and indestructible. Boon of Safety, put a shield counter on target creature. Obviously at any point we can use the Mutavault to pay for its own cost to turn it into a creature should we need to do that. Emerge Unscathed, target creature gains protection from a colour of your choice, and it has rebound, so we can use it again the next turn should we need to. Laurent Escape, target artifact or creature gains hexproof and indestructible. Null Elemental Blast is a colourless counterspell, can come in handy. Apostle's Blessing, 1 and a Phyrexian, so if we only have 1 mana available, we can just pay 2 life. Target artifact or creature gains protection from artifacts or from the colour of your choice. And Shelter, target creature you control gains protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. So we're also running a bit of redundancy and recursion for this deck, just to keep it running smoothly. Elixir of Immortality is 1 drop, pay 2, tap it, you gain 5 life, and you shuffle the elixir and your graveyard back into your library. Now if anything that you want to reuse that you've sacrificed before goes into your graveyard, you can use this to basically get it back into your library and then use your commander to go and find it again. We have a Golden Throne. If you would lose the game, you instead exile the Golden Throne and your life total becomes 1. And then you can also tap it, sack a creature, add 3 mana in any combination of colours. Platinum Angel is another you can't lose the game, your opponents can't win the game artifact, so we can go and find it with our commander. Angel's Grace is an instant at split second, so it's very, very difficult to interact with. You can't lose the game this turn, your opponents can't win the game this turn. Until end of turn, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. Pull from Eternity is put a target face-up card that's in exile into your graveyard. And Khan, the Great Creator's -2 ability is you can reveal an artifact card you own from outside the game, or choose a face-up artifact card you own in exile, put that card into your hand. So if any of our key pieces get removed before we manage to get our little combo off, we have ways to bring them back. The Golden Throne also exiles itself if you would lose the game, so we can use this to bring them back as well. Ways to speed the game up. So we've got Illusionist Braces, we can equip those onto the commander, and then we can go and get 2 artifacts for only sacking 1, so we end up positive on that. Rings of Brighthearth, you can pay 2 when you activate an ability and copy it. 1000-Year Elixir means we can tap our commander as though it had haste for its ability, and you can also pay 1, tap the 1000-Year Elixir and untap to do it again. And then Marvin, Murderous Mimic, is a 2/2 that has all activated abilities, so it's essentially just a copy of our commander for this deck, but it is one that we can go and find with our commander because it's also an artifact. The majority of cards in this deck are artifacts for that exact reason. And the rest of the deck is pretty replaceable. Obviously the idea is you add 1 to the mana value of anything that you sacrifice, so we need to start with some 0 mana value artifacts and then work our way through up to the ones that we need. We need 0 cost into a 1-drop to get our Land Tutor, and then we need a 2-drop to sacrifice to go and get our Book of Exalted Deeds, and then use the combo from there. It's a really good deck because it's quite resilient to interaction, being that you're not casting most of these spells, you are just playing them from your library. Counter spells and stuff like that won't work. You would have to have stifle effects, and a majority of people don't really run those. So let's look at the 0 mana value cards that we're running. I've tried to find some stuff that also adds value to us, but if you were to build this deck yourself, all of these things are quite replaceable. We've got a Briber's Purse. It's an X cost. X can be 0, enters with X gem counters on it, and you can remove a counter from it, and target creature can't attack or block. So later on in the game you can use this for a bit of control, but you can also just pop it down turn 1 for absolutely free. Chimeric Mass enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it, and then you can pay 1 and turn it into a creature. Obviously if it has 0 charge counters on it and we do that, it would instantly die, but it's another 0 drop because it doesn't enter as a creature, it's an activated ability to turn it into one. Hilbert Poultice, pay 3, sack it, regenerate target creature. Nice little 0 drop, and can also be used as an additional protection for either our commander or for our Mutavault if it's a creature at the time. Mishra's Bauble, tap it, sack it, look at the top card of target player's library, draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. Orochi Hatchery, XX, when it enters with X charge counters on it, and then you can pay 5, tap it, put a 1/1 green snake creature for each charge counter that's on the hatchery. The Sigil of Distinction comes into play with X charge counters on it. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on it, and you can equip it by removing. We don't really care too much about this one. Maybe you can buff up your big Caldra later on in the game, but initially it's just a 0 cost, it's free. Tormod's Tormod's Crypt, my apologies, is a little bit of graveyard hate earlier on in the game. If someone's causing some problems with a recursion deck, you can use this to slow them down and get your game plan going. Welding Jar, sacrifice it, regenerate target artifact, again can be useful for stopping people from interrupting our combo as it's going off. Memnite, 0 drop 1/1, little cheerio. Ornithopter, 0/2 flying, cheerio. And then we have some artifact lands as well. So you've got an Ancient Den, which taps for a white, You've got a Darksteel Citadel, which taps for a colourless. You've got a Power Depot, which can either tap for a colourless or add 1 mana of any colour for artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. And Scene of the Crime is an artifact land, enters tapped, taps for a colourless, tap an untapped creature to add a mana of any colour, or pay 2, sack it and draw a card. We'll move on to the 1 mana value cards. So we have a Brainstone, pay 2, tap it, sack it, draw 3 cards, put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So if we draw something for turn, or from some of our other draw effects that we would rather have in our library, so that the commander can go and fetch them and it's hardest for your opponents to interact with, we can use this to put stuff back into your library. We have a Chromatic Star. When it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So even if we're sacking it to our commander's ability, we're still going to go and get ourselves, we'll still get an extra card draw for that, which is nice. Sol Ring, no, I'm not talking about that. Soul Guide Lantern. When it enters, exile target card from a graveyard, and then you can sack it, exile each opponent's graveyard. So if we need to get rid of graveyard decks again, this is a bit more graveyard hate, or we can use it to go and get a 2-drop to lead into a 3-drop, so on and so forth. Stone of Eric. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. Again, a bit more sort of protection from scary decks that care about their creatures dying. Vexing Bauble. If a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. So it's a good way to slow down opponents playing certain types of decks. We are not casting, notably, from our commander. We are simply getting it from our library and putting it straight onto the battlefield, so this doesn't stop us. And Wizard's Rockets. You can pay X, tap it, sack it, add X in any combination of colours. Don't really care about that. But again, when it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, we will draw a card, which is nice. Our 2 mana value artifacts. Conqueror's Flail. When it's equipped to a creature, your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. If you get this out before you use your turn for getting your book and the vault onto the battlefield and doing the thing that the deck wants to do, if this is onto a creature, your opponents are going to really struggle to interact with it in any way, shape or form. Dampening Sphere. Each spell a player casts costs 1 more for each spell that they've cast before. If you're going against a Storm deck, it's an answer for that. And also doesn't really affect us too much because we're not casting too many spells in this. Fabrication Foundry, you can tap it for a white mana for artifact spells or artifact abilities, or you can pay 3, tap it, exile 1 or more other artifacts you control with total mana value X, and then return target artifact card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So again, a bit more recursion. If someone's milling you and something that you want is in your graveyard and you can't get it back, this is a way to get it back. Ichor Wellspring enters or is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So we get this out, draw a card, sack it to the commander, draw another card, helps keep our hand topped up. Pearl Medallion is just a no-brainer in a mono white deck. Prize Statue enters or is put into a graveyard, you make a treasure token, so you can use that either for the mana, or treasure tokens are 0 mana value artifacts that we can also use for our commander's ability. And Swift Foot Boots, a bit of extra protection for the commander, and you can pop it on and give him haste to get your game plan going that little bit quicker. Our 3 mana value artifacts. Archaeomancer's Map, it's a nice bit of ramp in mono white. A Commander's Sphere, yeah, it's a mana rock, you know. Darksteel Ingot is another mana rock. Mirren Safe House, as long as it's on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all land cards in all graveyards. So we can use this as a backup mutable if we were ever really desperate for it. Obviously, being an artifact, it's a bit easier to remove than a land. Foreboding Statue is another mana rock. And the Rug of Smothering, whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 1 life for each spell they've cast this turn. So again, someone's got a Storm deck, or someone's going infinite with stuff. If you have one of these out, it's going to hold them back while you get your game plan rocking and rolling. 4 mana value, Clock of Omens, tap 2 untapped artifact you control, untap target artifact. This just can get you more and more value as the game goes on. If we have Marvin out copying our commander, you can tap stuff to untap him to go and get more stuff, so on and so forth. Get 5 or 6 activations in one turn. It's really good. See a sundial. Whenever a land enters, you can pay 2 and draw a card. So if you're struggling to find some of the answers that you might want that aren't artifacts that we can go and look for, this is a way to try and help top your hand up. Select Stone Refinery. When this or another non-token artifact you can pull into your graveyard or it's put into exile, you make a Power Stone. So it's a bit of extra ramp. And also, it's a 0 mana value artifact. Stone Speaker Crystal, taps for 2, sack it, exile any number of graveyards and draw a card. So more graveyard hate and a more fodder. For our 5 mana value cards, we have an Altar of the Goyf. When a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of card types among cards in all graveyards. So if we have our big beefy 9/9 token that we've assembled, this can just make it that little bit bigger, hit that little bit harder. And a Gilded Lotus taps for 3 mana of any one colour. 6 drops are a Caged Sun. Enters the battlefield, choose a colour. Those creatures get slightly bigger, but it also means that the lands will tap for an additional mana, so our planes would tap for 2 white mana rather than 1. Dreamstone Hadron taps for 3, or we can use it to draw 3 cards. And then the Scavenge Brawler is a 4/4 with Flying, Vigilance, Trample and Lifelink. And then if we sacrifice this, get it into the graveyard, we can pay 5, exile it from your graveyard, and choose target creature, put 4 +1/+1 counters, a Flying, Vigilance, Trample and Lifelink counter on that creature as well at sorcery speed. So our big Exodia guy is getting bigger and more keywords, which is nice. For the 7 drops, we've gone for Caldra Complete, mostly for the flavour, because we've made the Caldra robot with the other 3 parts. And Sandstone Oracle, when it enters the battlefield, you can pick an opponent with more cards and draw. So try and find those non-artifact cards that you're really looking for in a pinch. The lands for this deck, we've got a Maze of Ith, just as a little sort of bit of protection for early game if we manage to pop that off. Mistveil Plains, you can pay a white and tap it to put a card from your graveyard at the bottom of your library. So again, if we want something to be able to be searched with our commander's ability and it's in the graveyard, we can use this card to get it back into our library. Myriad Landscape, it's a mono white deck. We want to be trying to get as many planes out as possible. We have 24 planes cards in this deck. A Tyrite Sanctum. You can use it for a colourless mana, or the reason that it's in the deck is for this bottom ability. It says pay 4, tap it, sacrifice it, and put an indestructible counter on target god. Now if we make our Mutavault land into a creature of all creature types, god is including in those creature types, so it gets an indestructible counter as well. And Urza's Cave is a backup for our artifact that will go and fetch the Mutavault. We can use this to search our library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle. And then obviously we can use this for some of our other utility lands that we might want at the time. And then we have a single sorcery in this deck, and it is a Sculpted Sunburst. 5 mana, choose a creature you control, then each opponent chooses a creature they control with equal or lesser power. If you choose a creature this way, exile each creature not chosen by any player this way. So this is mass exile, gets around a lot of evasion, gets around indestructible, gets around hexproof and stuff like that. And being that we don't really care too much about our creatures and we don't have all that many in there, our commander's a 2/2, is going to get rid of a lot of other stuff. And then everyone gets to pick one creature. Yours is much more important than someone that's got a big board of stompies or a load of tokens that are going wide. Again, just a nice way to keep everything sort of even while you're getting set up and ready for the rest of the game. And that is pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any ideas for any silly decks or anything like that, do please get in touch. But yeah, that's pretty much me for this video. Monday, out.